and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. The Patreon-sponsored extravaganza continues with some Yu-Gi-Oh! Episodes from a series I've never watched at all. Yeah, I've made no secret of it. I've seen nothing past GX. Hell, even back in the day when it was on TV, I only watched Season 1 of GX. Just lost track of it after. Then several years later, did a big rewatch of all of GX and the undubbed 4th season. After that, nope, had zero interest in 5Ds, not helped by, of course, the mimetic power of card games on motorcycles. Oh hey, I was in that video. God, I'm old. And it was around this time I had stopped playing the card game regularly too. Synchro summoning confused and irritated me and felt like an unnecessary new gimmick when fusion already existed and was a lot cooler in my opinion. Obviously I am not representative of this fandom or the card game players at all, so don't take my opinions as any kind of gospel. But yeah, having fallen out of the game and the show, you can imagine that I did not keep up with any more than that. What with 5Ds followed up by Zexal and then Zexal 2? Why sequel it instead of just being more Zexal? Anyway, after the Zexal duology, we have what we're talking about today. Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. And yes, I discovered by watching this that it's pronounced Arc 5 and not Arc V. Why they didn't just put the damn number 5 in there, if that's how they wanted it pronounced, is unknown to me, but there you go. And hey, it being a new series means we get a fresh start for everything, and it can introduce some game mechanics that I'm sure are still beloved by people. Let's dig into Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, episodes 1 to 4, and get our game on.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he is a man, punch, sporadically a grouch. Linkara, he has his own spaceship, but he's always on his couch. Linkara, ghosts, gods, a universe in flux. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
Arc 5 begins with the two-parter Swing into Action. We open in the middle of a duel featuring this JoJo's Bizarre Adventure-looking dude summoning up some kind of steampunk samurai monster.
It's time to take center stage and show Gong what you're made of.
So, did you know that while 4Kids doesn't exist anymore, their production office got bought by Konami in 2012 and renamed 4K Media Incorporated? And 4K Media provided the dub for this? I can't imagine how I could have guessed that, what with the guy in the southern accent playing with samurai monsters. We're introduced to our new protagonist, Yuya, as he summons up a bunch of hippos.
Hey, what's with all that shaking?
You know we're not allowed to have twerking on a kid's show! A girl, Zuzu, is watching over this and telling Yuya to stop moving around so much, but her lightly touching the keyboard causes it to suddenly malfunction and explode. In the future, they'll repurpose Cybertruck components into computers and be just as reliable, I see. This is actually the hologram control system, and naturally, this being a Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, they play the children's card game with expensive hologram technology. The holograms fade away, causing Yuya to fall to the ground, Zuzu blaming this on him before the theme song. So, did he, climb up that building when the holograms formed? What was he gonna do when the duel was over? God, I just want to press those pop-o-matics in Zuzu's hair. Anyway, theme song. I actually kind of like it. I'm not big on the hip-hop for most of it, but it actually flows well with the beat, and when we get to the chorus, it's pretty catchy and strong. I don't know if anything's ever gonna beat GX's theme song for me, but this is actually pretty enjoyable. Speaking of GX, like that show, our plot revolves around a school for dueling. However, while GX was about an elite academy owned by the smartest, richest, dragon-obsessed teenager in the world, here we have a small school that's struggling, the Yusho Duel School. Their hologram equipment, the ARC system as it's called, is down, and they apparently need it to show off action duels. We get some characterization. Yuya is interested in basically being a clown. They specialize in dueltainment, where it's more about putting on an entertaining show than the actual competition aspect of dueling. The Harlem Globetrotters of card games. The others, including Gong, the big guy here, scold Yuya for not taking anything seriously, mentioning that Yuya's father used to be the king of dual-taning, always able to work a crowd and make them smile, while Yuya is an embarrassment that frequently humiliates himself. This fellow in a black and yellow suit enters, Nico Smiley, and I should note that the dub apparently altered this guy's mustache. Originally looking more like a Hitler stash. Not that they were trying to draw a parallel, it's just that that style of mustache has never really gone away in Japan like it did, you know, pretty much everywhere else for obvious reasons. Anyway, Nico says that he's the manager of The Sledgehammer, the current champion of action duels.
Come to the Leo Institute of Dueling, and we will teach you how to crush any opponents and fill them with fear.
See your enemies driven before you, and hear the lamentations of the Dark Magician girls. So, like, what was it about the purple triple cone head hair and Galaxy Warrior harness on this guy that made the dubber say, yeah, let's give this guy a Schwarzenegger impression? The Sledgehammer is holding an exhibition duel for the Leo Institute, a more prestigious school, and they're inviting Yuya to be the opponent. It seems his dad was supposed to have a championship match against the Sledgehammer 3 years ago, but disappeared before he could duel.
Sakati is chickened out!
So bullshit. All of it.
Yuya wanted to take his father's place back then, but he was too young. Now that he's old enough, Nico is offering them this chance. The principal, Skip, says that he refuses to let him duel since he doesn't want the kid to be humiliated so publicly, but agrees when Nico offers to donate the newest state-of-the-art arc system to their school free of charge. Yuya runs off and flashes back to when his dad gave him some advice.
Try to laugh when you feel like crying. And when things get tough, respond with a smile.
Toxic positivity, son. Never show hurt or weak feelings and keep it all bottled up inside. In all seriousness, though, I get the message, and yet once again I feel the comparison to GX coming on. During the duel of the very first episode, there's a moment where it looks like Jaden is going to start crying, and he's mocked for it, except it turns out he's laughing because he's having so much fun. Anyway, his dad compares this attitude to a pendulum. You always know it will swing back the other way. Thus, even if things are looking bad, they can take a turn for the better, and the same applies to a duel. Conveniently, this also reflects the new summoning mechanic for the card game and this show. Yuya's determined to win by following his dad's advice, and we soon see Nico initiating the ARC system, an abbreviation for Augmented Reality Construct. Basically, the difference here is that the holograms are much more solid than before, so, as we saw at the start, they can be climbed on and have a more realistic feel to them. We will, of course, ignore all the times holograms have actually had some kind of physical impact on the people in a duel, because hey, the game is really different when you're on a rooftop instead of, you know, on the ground. Apparently nobody actually bothered to, like, check in with Yuya on the same day or drive with him over or whatever, because he looks to be a no-show like his dad at first when Rico introduces him. However, instead he snuck in behind Sledgehammer in a full-on clown suit to mock him a bit, then the game can get underway.
Our duelists and their decks are primed for an epic showdown like nothing you've ever seen before. It'll be the duel to end all duels.
Dude, I once saw the King of Atlantis duel with a monster that had infinity attack points and the time a dinosaur and a superhero flew up into space to destroy a satellite. I think you may need to relax the hype a bit about a clown against Hercules in New York here. Yuya tries to put on a bit of a show, moving around the field, even hopping on the back of a hippo he summons. They don't really explain what the hell action duels are in this episode, which is a bit frustrating because it's not something in the actual card game. The idea seems to be that, indeed, you are supposed to actually be taking full advantage of the holographic environment and picking up unique action cards as you move around, as Yuya does. And yet the crowd and his friends seem to be struggling to understand why he's not just standing still and fighting the Sledgehammer. It takes Yuya's mom to explain to his friends that Yuya never seemed to treat the duels with them seriously as a defense mechanism, thinking people would look down on him because of his father. He idolized him and wants to be just like him. Then maybe you should have gone with a top hat instead of the Digimon goggles. Yuya summons his ace, Odd Eyes Dragon, then uses a spell card to discard a bunch of action cards to drop Sledgehammer's monster to 0 attack points.
You just pretended to run away to find as many action cards as your feeble, fragile fingers could pick.
Yeah? Like, what's the point of the action cards if you're not gonna try to grab them and use them? Still, Sledgehammer saves his monster from a game-winning attack and manages to destroy Odd Eyes, although a card effect sends it back to his hand instead. Yuya's about to give up, but he remembers his father's words and draws, initiating a Pendulum Summoning. So how does this work exactly? Well, apparently pendulum monsters are a weird thing where they have extra numbers on the sides of the card. You put a lower level on one side of the magic and trap card zones. They used to have their own separate zones, but apparently they changed that later. Then a higher number on the other side. Then you can special summon any monsters in your hand whose levels are between those numbers. So as you can imagine, as someone who hasn't kept up with the series or the game through modern mechanics, I kind of find this annoying, but I apologize for those familiar with the game who have probably heard it all before and are sick of hearing of it, especially since other new mechanics have come along since then that are probably worse. First of all, every time someone tries to explain this to me, they say, well, pendulum monsters are both monster cards and spell cards. And that is a bit misleading. What they mean is that, yeah, you can just summon this like a normal monster, but if you do the pendulum scale thing with their numbers, they get a different effect like a spell card and are treated as such. So cards that destroy or prevent spell cards affect them. But like, not only can you do the old Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged meme of, did you summon a bunch of monsters in one turn? Except it is not, in fact, against the rules. You basically get some potentially powerful continuous spell effects on top of all the monsters you summoned, potentially just for sacrifice. It can be a little overpowered. But then again, lots of old school card mechanics can be overpowered if you know what you're doing, and as far as I know, it's not like they're immune to any effects that can normally destroy them or whatever. I don't know, I've never used these things, and I can imagine they were much worse when you got extra zones to play them on instead of the magic and trap card zones, and they feel a little overpowered having those additional effects like that. Like, you're saving on deck space by just having these things and put anyone not using them at a disadvantage. I don't doubt as the years have gone on that has changed, but like, I feel like you kind of need a deck more oriented around them to use them, making them less useful for someone who, like me, runs cards mostly by, I like this, and they just happen to work well with each other. In my case, a mixture of Blue Eyes White Dragon and Warrior cards. I don't know, it's possible I'm entirely wrong about all this and nobody really complains about pendulum monsters, and I'm exaggerating the problems with them, or I'm just outdated about that, but I suspect at the very least there's more complaining about link summoning, which is a whole other can of worms, so let's just move on to our second Arc 5 episode. Swing into Action, Part 2! At some high-tech office, it's reported that someone is using pendulum energy at that moment. Sledgehammer is frustrated that someone like Yuya could have pulled off a maneuver like that.
I'm stunned too, but if his move wasn't legit, the judges would have intervened.
You know, for a champion, you don't seem to actually study the game or its evolving mechanics very much.
I thought you lived at the school.
Using the various monster and pendulum abilities on the field, Yuya destroys the Sledgehammer's monster and wins the game. It takes a second for everyone to react, but everyone quickly turns around and is cheering for Yuya. Yuya also doesn't seem to recognize that pendulum summoning is unusual, as he's baffled when Nico asks him to tell them about all this new summoning technique. At the Leo Institute, some kid in a scarf is told about the pendulum summoning and that it was Yuya. He recognizes the last name is connected to Yusho and their school.
Yusho Sakagi vanished 3 years ago, and now his son is suddenly using a radical new method of summoning?
Clearly, Yusho used some kind of age regression machine and is just pretending to be his own son. Don't look at me like that. Weirder stuff has happened in this franchise. Did you not hear about the ghost dinosaur and satellite thing?
There's more here than meets the eye.
Of course! Yuya is a transformer! The guy wants any and all information about pendulum summoning they can dig up. Meanwhile, the Yusho school now has a long line of kids outside wanting to enroll in the place in light of what happened in the match. Unfortunately for them, none of them have ridiculous enough hair to be a main character. We're quickly introduced to two existing young students, Ali and Frederick. Zuzu asks if they're here to help her.
Principal Boyle asked for volunteers in our class. Since we are the only two, he volunteered us.
Also, they made me jump in for some reason, and it is really distracting and weird and an odd coincidence on top of the Schwarzenegger accent and the painted over Hitler stash. Zuzu has to get ready for a demonstration duel. She's apparently the best student in the place. Not surprising, what with her dad being the principal as well. And Gong volunteers to duel in her place, but the kids shoo him off. He apparently doesn't even go to the Yusho school. Then why does he hang out here? The kids volunteer to handle the enrollment, even though they look no older than these kids who want to enroll. And Zuzu notices a blue-haired kid who has been in the background of a lot of shots so far. The principal tries to tell the new students about what they do at the school, but the kids don't care. They just want to learn how to pendulum summon. And while the hologram technology is the stuff of science fiction, they haven't quite figured out YouTube tutorials yet. Yuya interrupts and puts the spotlight on himself, much to Zuzu's irritation, But the new students just want to see Yuya in action. As such, she decides to play heel to him. Yuya is not good at improv, trying to play her off as the Sledgehammer's sidekick Gavel Girl. This may have been a horrible mistake, since Zuzu is now turning Super Saiyan God over here. The duel begins, the arc system activating, and man, I do not like the duel discs in this series. Apparently something like this happened in 5Ds as a type of a duel disc used in the future, but its proper introduction is here. Instead of having a bulkier card field attached to the wrist, the field you put the cards on is also a hologram. I personally think this looks incredibly boring, especially because you don't actually see the individual card zones. It's just a solid black with a glowing color around it. While, from a technological standpoint, it makes sense to have a dual disc like this, I feel like visually it's just not as interesting. I think Dark Side of Dimensions did the idea better. After he takes some damage, Zuzu encourages Yuya to Pendulum Summon, since that's what all the kids want to see, them even chanting it. He does it, but...
All performance issues, it's not uncommon.
Yuya doesn't know exactly why the Pendulum Summon doesn't work, eventually figuring that it only works when he's in serious trouble. Are we sure that Yuya is not a Digimon protagonist who got lost? As such, he allows Zuzu to attack, he tries again, and he loses. Everyone is confused what the hell happened, and the kids assume, after Yuya shows them the pendulum cards, that he must have cheated and just hacked the cards into the arc system to work, so they all leave. Damn, and since they never officially attended class yet, the no refunds policy doesn't kick in! Yuya is ashamed and starts to walk away, or maybe he just realized he needs more starch to keep his jacket hovering in the air like that. But the blue-haired kid, named Tate, speaks up, telling Yuya he should defend himself because he knows he's no cheater. The other kids explain that Tate has been coming to watch Yuya duel here for a while. He's Yuya's biggest fan. Yuya promises to master pendulum summoning, while a blonde-haired kid is instructed by someone over the phone to steal Yuya's pendulum cards, saying they'll trade him the rare cards he's after in exchange. I'm sure there's an explanation for this later, but the lack of foreknowledge of pendulum cards in this one bothers me from a logical world-building perspective. Like, the cards don't just appear from the ether, they're manufactured. In any Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, Duel Monsters is the premier form of entertainment and hobby. You know how some people go crazy for sports, for the Super Bowl, for soccer and hockey and baseball? Well, Duel Monsters is more popular than all of it. That's why there are schools designed to teach the best way of doing it. It's that big a part of their everyday life. So unless trading cards just rain from the sky every June from a magic portal emanating from the cardboard dimension, whatever company in Arc 5 that manufactures Duel Monsters probably would announce this entire game mechanic and how to use it. Otherwise, people buying booster packs will see these things and ask, what the hell is this thing? I don't know how to use it in my deck. I mean, it made sense in the original show that they weren't familiar with everything. Yugi might have been the king of games, but he did it as a hobby. He was not a professional duelist. Why the hell has nobody heard of this? How does the company that make these things maintain the most popular activity in the world and yet suck so bad at marketing? How can Yuya have the only pendulum cards in existence here?
It just raises too many questions.
Anyway, let's move on to the other two-parter we're looking at today, Trade Bait. We open with Yuya fighting against Gong again, this time able to properly pendulum summon, after like 200 tries. We learn that the city they're in is called Paradise City, where the grass is green and the girls are pretty, no doubt. And Yuya is fast asleep at a real school because, again, Duel Academy was more like an expensive technical school that provided all education in its program, while Yusho is more like a specialized extracurricular thing. After school, the little kids have heard Yuya was able to pendulum summon again and want him to show them, but they're interrupted by the kid from the end of the last episode tossing a bunch of suction cup darts at Yuya's face. Yuya asks who the hell he is.
Me? Merely one of your biggest fans.
See, I dyed my hair 2 different colors to be like yours. This is Silvio.
Here's the wind-up, and there's the smarm.
Yeah, he acts very flattering and complimentary to Yuya, but the guy just exudes rich douchebag energy in every word. Since the kids want a demonstration of pendulum summoning, Silvio says he's already reserved the arc system at the Leo Institute. He also boasts at being one of their top students, and that his dad is probably going to be the next mayor. The kids really want to go.
It should be a new experience. Plus, I heard the Leo Institute has a great snack bar.
Get it? It's because he's fat! Get it? It's because he's fat! It's because he's overweight! So that means he likes snacks! Do you get it? Do you get it? It's funny! Ha! This kind of bullcrap is what fuels dub versus sub stuff, you know? Like, what was the reason why they decided to make this kid Ooter from The Simpsons? Anyway, yeah, they all head out.
It's all going according to plan.
Anyway, the Leo Institute is pretty impressive. A huge tower offering a massive amount of things that Yusho can't. While Yuya examines a class offering of various extra deck summonings, a blue-haired boy seems to notice him and glare before walking off. They head to the central dueling arena, where some other very obviously bullyish characters are waiting. Silvio asks to see Yuya's pendulum cards, and then once Yuya hands them over, says he's keeping them and adding them to his deck since he thinks only rare cards are worth using. He says he still wants to see a demonstration of how to use Pendulum Summoning, so challenges him, though his benefactor calls him through his duel disc to point out that this was not the plan. The other bullies hold Yuya's friends hostage if he won't duel. He also tosses out some cards over to Yuya, saying he's offering them as trade for the Pendulum cards.
I knew you'd like them because they're worthless, like you!
Dude, don't you be dissing my boy Hungry Burger. Also, that trap card is Localized Tornado. It shuffles all cards in your hand and graveyard into your deck. That's immensely useful, especially with some cards out there. What are they teaching you at this school?
No card's worthless.
I mean, maybe not, but like, Morinfen isn't that great, dude. He activates the action duel, choosing a field card that creates a giant tower and bridge to hold the kids hostage.
I plan on becoming a pendulum master, and you'll be my teacher!
I need you to teach me how to pendulum summon! Without your pendulum cards to demonstrate! I did not think this plan through! The scarf guy from before is now the one communicating with Silvio, advising him to not use the pendulum cards yet. Using their summoned monsters, they navigate the hologram environment to get closer to the hostages. Silvio draws the second pendulum monster, and the scarf guy advises him on what to do to activate them. Once he does so, he's able to pendulum summon 3 monsters and end out the episode. Part 2 begins with Yuya taking some hits and losing his monster, seemingly defenseless now and with only 600 life points remaining. Still, his dad's laugh in the face of adversity advice kicks in and he regains his confidence, soon using some of the cards Silvio tossed at him to put up a defense. While Silvio eventually manages to break through said defense, Yuya figures out a way to reclaim his pendulum cards and return them to his side of the field, while his friends fell from the tower. And they're sure taking their sweet time landing after falling. Still, his retrieved cards save them from a watery grave. This would have been very difficult to explain to the headmaster of the Leo Institute, I think. With his friends and cards back, he pendulum summons his monsters and uses their abilities to waste away Silvio's side of the field, then uses 2 of the worthless cards to finish the job. Sorry if I'm not being very specific. Part 2 is just a lot of, well, the duel. I'd just be describing the exact turns and moves, much in the same way how I tend to just breeze through fight scenes. Point is that Silvio gets his ass well and truly kicked. Silvio orders the bullies to steal the pendulum cards again, but they're saved by the blue-haired kid who had been watching the duel. How does he stop the bullies when he's half their size? Oh, well, that's so obvious. He throws a lollipop stick at them and they fall over as if they got shot. Okay, even for this franchise...
No, I don't buy it for 1 minute.
The kid, Sora, explains that he had been considering attending the Leo Academy, but was impressed by Yuya's entertainment value as a duelist, so wants to come to the Yusho Institute and study dueltainment from him. And so our episode ends with Scarf Dude ordering the bullies to not just get back up and actually do something, saying that he's become intrigued by Yuya. These episodes are a mixed bag as the start to the show. It introduces us pretty quickly to the main character, an overall direction, and some mysteries to explore later on. Where's Yuya's dad? Where did the pendulum cards come from? Why is Scarf Guy so interested in getting them? We get some recurring gags like Zuzu hitting people who do something stupid, and the fact that while Yuya acts the clown, he can be serious when he needs to be and is not unskilled. I also get the impression that action duels were invented as a way to try to make the act of dueling more interesting visually, since at least in the original and GX, most of dueling consisted of 2 people standing across from each other on the equivalent of a tennis court. And even with the hologram monsters and the occasional weird effects in the field, it always was just, well, 2 people standing across from each other. The action duels, requiring the players to run around and grab random cards, allowed for a little more dynamic movement and unpredictability in the duels. Plus, it allowed them to just introduce cards randomly without needing to constantly keep track of what cards are in each player's hand. Unfortunately, I find it more distracting from the actual card game stuff, which is what I enjoy. Admittedly, I'm not into pendulum summoning either, so that doesn't help my lack of enthusiasm for the duels. And while I'm a defender of clowns and find the idea of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist having a goofier deck and demeanor to be fun, I don't feel like the show plays into it enough, or at least the manner that they deliver it in is just not as fun to watch. Maybe it's better for the little kids watching, but Yuya so far just feels kind of boring. Not bad or anything, just kind of meh as a character. It might be my bias of loving GX talking, but I just kept comparing him in my mind to Jaden and thinking he was a much better and more entertaining protagonist. And duelist for that matter. Again, not that he's bad, just that I didn't find him that interesting. Now, let's not even get into the bizarre voice decisions they made for Frederick or the Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer on his own would be fine, it's a one-off who doesn't come back as far as I know, but why give an exaggerated accent to someone who didn't have one originally and is gonna be a recurring character? Again, to compare to GX, Eric Stewart gave Bastion a slightly more British accent, as if to try to give him the air of someone more academic and posh feeling, even if he wasn't actually a snooty rich kid. He just wanted to seem like an intellectual. What does giving Frederick a German accent add other than, "La, listen to the funny accent"? But yeah, this opening for Arc 5 is fine, but given what I've read later about the series, boy is the premise a lot different than what you'd think from these 4 episodes. Next time is up in the air. I was really hoping to get a 3rd episode out before October. We've got a ton of Patreon-sponsored reviews still to go, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. Still have to do a Mr. T review. We'll see what happens, but definitely coming soon, we're gonna have our Halloween episodes during October, unlike last year. First up, the comic adaptation of Army of Darkness.
No one walks over the sledgehammer and gets away with it!
I'm going to ram it into your stomach and break your goddamn spine!
Hello my friends, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon, buy merch from the store envy link in the description, or check out the t-shirts available from Teespring. Thanks for watching!